Hey, it's Ollie, and in this video I'm going to give you 10 ways to practice speaking in a foreign language every single day. And this is a question that came from Charlotte, who was looking for a way to speed up the process of actually developing speaking abilities when you're using a learning method which focuses around reading and listening. So how can we speed up that transition from kind of learning and knowing to actually being able to speak? All right, so here we go. 10 ways of doing this that I've used myself tons and tons and tons over the years. Number one is self-talk. Now, you've heard people talk about this before. This is where you walk down the street looking crazy, talking to yourself, but it's actually a really good thing to do. And I use this a lot as a way to just keep multiple languages active. So I'll just, whatever I'm thinking about, I'll just walk down the street and, like in French or whatever, just explain things or talk about those things in the language. And you're not getting any feedback, but you are kind of rehearsing the act of speaking, right? You're having to remember words, you're having to put sentences together, you're getting the mouth muscles moving, and you can do it literally anywhere, anytime. So that's a really great way of just getting the language out of your mouth. So don't worry about looking crazy, just do it because it's really helpful. Number two is finding language partners who you can send voice messages to. Now, I don't know about you, but on I use WhatsApp every day, and I usually just send voice messages back and forth to friends and colleagues and stuff because it's much easier than sitting there kind of typing on a screen. But there's lots of language exchange apps where you can find language partners and do the same thing. I like HelloTalk, I like Tandem as well. Both of those two I use, and you can meet people on those apps who are learning your language, and then you can do like an exchange where you can press down a button and you can send a voice message in the language, and then they can reply as well. And you've got to kind of negotiate when to use what languages or whatever, but that's a really great way of practicing, and I've done that quite a lot in the past when I've had language partners on the other end of an app who I just kind of exchange messages with. That's number two. Number three is something that's not obvious to people, but actually finding a study partner who's learning the same language as you. Because let's say that I'm learning Spanish and my friend is learning Spanish, we can actually get together and practice speaking Spanish. It's a little bit funny, feels a little bit strange, but again, it's rehearsal. It's practicing. You're getting you're having to convey meaning. You're having to get your point across, and you're having to do it in the language. So if you're in a class, or you're learning with other people online or whatever, get together from time to time and just practice speaking in the language a little bit. If you don't have someone that you're studying with, you can go to my Facebook group, Olly Richards Fluency Mastermind Facebook group, and then post a message in there. Say, hey, I'm learning such and such a language. Is anyone else learning that language? Fancy getting together and practicing speaking a little bit on Zoom? Feels a bit funny, but it's great practice, right? And it's really kind of low pressure because you don't have that that fear of being face to face with a native speaker. Number four. Now, this is for those of you who don't mind being out there more publicly. You can start an Instagram account that is just for documenting your language journey. And then you've seen people do this. They can post pictures of books and their worksheets and things like that. But what you can do every day, film an Instagram story of you talking to the camera, and it's like a kind of video diary. So you speak in your target language to Instagram every day, and you make a rule for yourself. So you're going to record a little bit in your target language every single day. And the key here is not to worry about making mistakes. You just speak. You just go through the act of doing that every single day. And then that can be a really cool way of keeping yourself accountable. Number five is arranging language lessons. The most obvious one of all, right? But using a website like italki or Verbling, you can, billions of other ones, you can actually schedule language lessons. Obviously, they're paid most of the time, but you could just have one a week or two a week, get them in the diary, and then that forces you to actually turn up and spend that time speaking once or twice a week. The number six, this is one of my favorites, and it is not exactly kind of speaking in the same way as the others, but this is where you prepare a little speech or a little monologue. And I do this all the time when I want to practice a certain thing. So if I'm learning about a certain topic, or I'm practicing a self-introduction or something like that, work on writing it out, get your tutor or a friend to help you correct it, and then memorize it. Commit it to memory like an actor learning their lines for a film. In order to learn something properly, you've got to practice it every day, right? And so what this does is it kind of, again, it takes you through the motions of learning stuff and then speaking it and practicing. And then if there's a particular language point or grammar point that you're trying to learn, you can get that in there. And every day you're just having, you're getting this experience of what it's like to speak that way, to speak with that grammar point. So you memorize the speech and you get it to a point where it's like really good and you can just rattle it off perfectly. And, it's a lot of work, but it's a very, very powerful activity because, again, it gets you used to performing at a high level. Number 7, language exchanges. Now, this is similar to, it's like a hybrid of finding a language partner on an app or even taking lessons. But good old traditional language exchanges. You can find language partners through websites like conversationexchange.com, mylanguageexchange.com, or you can find language partners directly on these apps like HelloTalk and Tandem, and then set a time to get together and then talk on Skype or Zoom or whatever, and fix the time and do it regularly, once or twice a week. And what this does is gives you the chance to practice the language. The negative is that it takes more time because you have to practice both languages, right? But a good old-fashioned language exchange, again, if you just put it in once a week, gives you that bit of structure to your week. Next up, number 8 is journaling. And in fact, the next 2 are not actually speaking, but they work to help your speaking, right? So number 8 is journaling, and this is where you go on, you write a little diary. Now you can do this by yourself in a notebook or a physical journal. But what you can also do is go onto websites like italki or HelloTalk, and you can write your journal online, and then other people will come in and correct you and give you feedback. So what this is doing is it's getting you practicing output, not speaking in this case, but writing, and then you're getting corrections from other people. And this is kind of the same process as speaking, right? You're putting a word or a phrase or an idea out into the world, and then you're getting feedback on that thing. It's the complete opposite of learning to read from the kind of input from a book or something. Okay, so that's journaling every day and then getting feedback from it. Number 9 is something I really like, which is flashcards, but doing flashcards in reverse. So with a flashcard, you put assuming you're an English speaker, the English on one side and the target language on the other. But I do them in reverse. No, I don't. I do them that way around, right? So what most people do is they put the target language on the front and then the English on the back, right? But I do it in reverse. So you display the English side first, and then what you have to do is try to recall how to say that phrase in the target language. So if you get into the habit of putting phrases onto flashcards, then you, when you're practicing them, what your flashcards do is they keep displaying you and bringing up phrases in English, and then you've got to think to yourself, right, okay, how do I say this phrase in my target language? And then you think, and hopefully you get it right, or you practice it if you don't. And what this does is this mimics the process of speaking, because when you're speaking in the early stages, when you can't think in the target language yet, it's kind of a process of idea translation, right? You have an idea in your mind. Okay, I want to say, oh, nice weather today. Now, how do I say that in French? And you have to kind of, you're kind of converting the idea into the foreign language. Flashcards mimic that process and help you rehearse that process. So that can be a great way as well to get you speaking. And if you actually say it out loud as well, all the better. And then the last one is really nothing to do with speaking, but it is a huge motivation boost, which is book a trip. Now, you might not want to do that right now, although I am going to do that today, funnily enough, for end of September, October. We'll see whether I actually make it there or not, or it all gets cancelled. But if you are learning a language and you like to travel to the country, book a trip there, even if it's for next year. It's a year away. Knowing that you've got that ticket booked and you're going to the country is going to be a huge motivational boost for you to actually sit down and try speaking that language every day. So I've given you 10 ways to practice speaking every day. And obviously you're not going to be able to do all of them. But what I would do is focus on getting a few of those and then just getting them in at a time when you can schedule them, right? So for example, if you're doing a lesson, a language lesson with your tutor, or you're taking a tutoring session on italki, book it in advance once or twice a week. Then maybe you're doing a conversation exchange. How about your regular time? So then you've got stuff in your week which is kind of guaranteed to happen, and then the rest of it you just fit it in around that time, whenever you can. There you go. That's pretty much how I've hacked my way up to learning 8 languages or so. So I hope that's helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please like this video if it was helpful. and I'll see you back for the next video.